Welcome to the Anti-Burnout Club, an exclusive club for those who are over the hustle culture BS, those who are tired of burning out and feeling stressed, and those who want to thrive while still becoming a success. I'm Beck Spiller, an accidental poet, an anxious entrepreneur, and your host. Welcome to the club. Hello and welcome back to the Anti-Burnout Club. This is episode 4 and you'll be pleased to know that my voice isn't broken anymore. So I don't sound like Marge Simpson in this episode, hopefully. And I'm a little bit late with this one, as I did say in episode 3 I was going to give you a few days to go through the signs and symptoms of burnout and recognise them in yourself potentially. However, I needed to give myself some time to rest as well, with my voice going. And also, I thought talking into a microphone for 20 minutes once a week would be quite chilled and relaxed. But there's a lot of things that go into making a podcast. So I needed to make sure that I was practicing what I preach and I gave myself some time out. So in the last episode, we spoke about the hidden signs and symptoms of burnout, or warning signs, I guess, that burnout might be approaching. And I gave you 12 different signs and symptoms in that. So it only seems fair that I give you 12 ways that we can stop burnout in its tracks. 12 different tools and techniques that you can use to try and reduce stress and give yourself a little bit of time too. Now, as I go through some of these, you might think, oh, I know I need to do that. I don't have time to do that. And that's okay. Consider this your gentle reminder to make some time. And I'm also writing a post for beckspiller.com on some really easy self-care ideas that you can do in just a few minutes a day. So whenever you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed, you can kind of come back to those and just pick one and spend a few minutes of your day just grounding yourself and trying to rid yourself of the stress. If you're part of my newsletter or my Facebook group, or you follow me on any social media, then that's where I will post the self-care ideas and let you all know when it goes up. I'm hoping by Friday, but I'm trying not to put too much pressure on myself because I want it to be really in depth and really helpful for you all. Also, it's important to note that the 12 things that I'm going to go through today are things that I've kind of gathered on my way from experts, from books and blogs and videos, but they're also things that I've used myself. So 99.9% of the things that I talk about on the Anti-Burnout Club are things that I've experienced myself or that I've used myself in terms of tools and techniques. And in the next few weeks, I do have some guests lined up who will be able to give an expert opinion on some of these things as well, which I'm really, really excited about. But for now, it's just little old me going through some of the things that I've learned that have helped reduce stress and stopped burnout in its tracks. Okay, so let's start with tip number 1. And this was originally going to be get more sleep. However, I know I'm very lucky in the fact that I can get more sleep. I do sleep quite well. And I figured I might get some emails from some angry parents or people who do really suffer with sleep saying, well, I just can't get any more sleep. What do you expect me to do? So I've changed this one to get more rest. And rest is really important. And it's something that you need to kind of try and fit into your day where you can. I am a big fan of an afternoon nap. No, I'm not a toddler. I just love an afternoon nap. I think it's so underrated. And what I like to do is after lunch, I will set a timer on my phone for 20 minutes. I'll find somewhere that I can rest my head. So Not in bed. I think if I get into bed in the afternoon, I probably will never get out. My husband will get back from work and just think, oh, what's she doing in bed? But the sofa or a chair outside in the garden, just somewhere where you can feel quite relaxed. Sometimes I even lie on the floor. I quite like it for my back. And I'll set that timer on my phone for 20 minutes, but I'll put it out of reach so I'm not tempted to scroll through Instagram. And I just shut my eyes. I don't necessarily always fall asleep. Sometimes I just shut my eyes for 20 minutes and don't think about anything for a little while, and it's quite nice. I'm not scrolling on my phone. I'm not thinking about work or what I have to do later on this afternoon. I'm literally just resting. Of course, it's been a lot easier to do that working from home, and it's a lot easier for me when I don't have anyone else in the house during the day. So I do understand that this isn't perfect for a lot of reasons for some people. But if you can tell anyone that you live with, just leave me alone. Just leave me alone for 20 minutes. I am closing my eyes. I'm not going to talk to you. I'm not going to look at my phone. I just need 20 minutes to be by myself and to rest. And obviously sleep is very important. So if you can get more sleep, then this would be amazing. This does wonders for stress, for anxiety, and just for your general well-being as well. So moving on to tip 2, and it kind of ties in, this is to schedule some downtime with yourself. So it could be that you schedule in that 20-minute nap. It could be that you schedule in 10 minutes of reading or half an hour sitting in the garden soaking up the sun. It could be an hour walk if you have that much time available. But it's really important that you schedule this downtime in every day as if it's a very, very important meeting that you cannot get out of. Whatever you use to schedule in appointments during the day, whether it's a calendar or an app or a diary, ensure that you add in some time for you, some downtime for you every single day. And don't cancel on yourself. This is such an important appointment that you need to keep with yourself every single day. And like I said, it doesn't need to be long. It could literally be 5 minutes. But keeping that appointment and sticking to that habit will mean that you start to find time. You'll go, well, actually, I have just spent 20 minutes scrolling through Instagram, so I could have used that time to have that nap that Bex was talking about. That sounds quite fun. Just make that time for yourself, make it a habit, and you'll start to find more time in your day as well. Okay, tip number 3, reduce your caffeine intake. Now, I really struggled with coffee, and I think I mentioned this in a previous episode, but I was drinking so much coffee, it was unreal. And the thing with caffeine is it interrupts our sleep. It doesn't allow us to rest. We're constantly jittery and anxious because there's lots of caffeine pumping through our veins, keeping us on high alert, but also just not giving our brains and our heart rates time to rest. And it took me a little while to reduce my caffeine intake, but that's okay. I just started cutting out 1 extra cup a day. And within a few weeks, I'd gone down to 2 cups of coffee a day, which is a lot better than where I was at. I also try to make sure that I don't have a coffee after around 2 o'clock, because I felt as though the late afternoon coffees I was having, that was causing sleep problems for me. And I've now replaced that with a nap. Which makes me feel far more refreshed than chugging another giant mug of coffee. If you're a fellow coffee addict like me, or like I was, then just start slow, just cut it down a little bit at a time, and you'll notice such a difference. If you cut out coffee completely, then some people do get withdrawal, but just cutting it down and giving your body time to get used to less caffeine in it. Okay, number 4, and this is a big one, unplug. I still struggle with this one myself. I've been desperately trying to reduce my screen time. I have an Apple phone, so it tells me every week how much my my screen time has reduced or increased. And at one point it was insane, where I was just scrolling through Instagram and I was bored. So I was on Pinterest and Facebook and Twitter. I was watching YouTube videos and I was charging my phone like 2 or 3 times a day because I was just overkilling it. The problem is that we can get sucked in with all these digital devices. There's constantly something on. When my husband comes in from work, the TV goes on, and then we both sit there with our phones in our hands, not even watching the TV. But if you can spend some time mindfully reducing your digital intake, then it really does do wonders for you, because you're not constantly comparing your lives to someone on Instagram. You're not thinking, oh, well, she works 80 hours a week and she's really successful, but she's only showing you the best parts of her life on Instagram anyway. And getting rid of this time that we spend on our phones or with other devices frees up that time that I was talking about, that downtime that we're going to schedule with ourselves anyway. So if you can unplug even just for a little bit, then you've got some more time in your day to do something that you really do love, that isn't going to make you feel a bit meh. An easy way to get started with this is to actually remove your phone about half an hour before you go to bed. So don't lie in bed scrolling or shopping. I found that I'm worse for online shopping in the evening when I'm in bed and I just buy things when I'm half asleep. So put your phone somewhere else, somewhere, if you use it for an alarm, then somewhere where you'll still be able to hear it, but that's out of reach. So you're not constantly reaching for it and thinking, oh, I'll just have one little scroll of Instagram. I'll see how many likes I got on that picture before you go to bed. And in time, when you start winding down without your phone, without that blue light that we get from digital devices shining on your face as you're trying to get some rest, you'll just find it a lot easier to fall asleep, which ties in with getting more rest anyway. Moving on to tip number 5, which is get creative. I really enjoy doing this, and it's one of those things that when I do schedule in downtime, I try and fit in something that I can do that's creative. I am a terrible drawer. I can't paint. My sister definitely got all of the creative, artistic nature from my dad, and I did not. But that's sometimes what makes it so enjoyable. When you've got no rules and you're not trying to perfect something, you're just having fun with it. That can really help with stress. And if you want to feel like you're good at painting, then just buy a paint by numbers. That's what I do. I'm like, wow, look how good I am. Look at this I made. But it doesn't need to be painting or drawing. It could be writing. I'm a writer by trade, so sometimes that for me is quite difficult to do creatively because I feel like I'm just working. But writing is still my passion, and so every now and then I'll just grab a pen and paper and I'll just write something silly. I'll just write a little poem or something that's so far removed from my day job that it makes me feel good. So find your creative outlet. It might be writing or drawing or painting. It could be knitting. There's so many. I mean, you can go on Etsy now and just buy like starter packs to do needlework or whatever it is you want. So find something that you really enjoy doing, that you don't feel like you have to get perfect. And the next time you're feeling stressed, just take some time out and go, oh, do you know what? I'm just going to grab some paint. I'm going to splosh it up this piece of paper and I'm going to feel so much better at the end of it. And it might not go on your wall or your fridge, but it's just getting out that emotion and that stress. And that flows perfectly into number 6, which is to get moving. Now, anyone that knows me knows that I'm the kind of person that buys a gym membership and goes maybe once or twice and then spends the next year going, oh, I really should go to the gym. I'm paying for it every month before I cancel it. So getting moving for me is something slightly different. You might love going to the gym and I'm very jealous of you. But for me, it's dancing around the house. I just love to put some music on, dance around the house, get my blood pumping. It makes me feel so much better. I do badly sing along as well, which I think it should be another tip on here. But yeah, it's just moving my body in a way that works for me. And I've also got 2 dogs. So we like going out for dog walks. And again, that's just moving my body, that's getting outside, doing something that's good for my physical health and my mental health. But for you, it might be yoga, it might be high intensity interval training, it could be anything. But it needs to be something that you enjoy doing and not something that you're forcing yourself to do because you think, oh, well, if I do this, then I'll lose loads of weight. And that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about just getting your body moving in any way that works for you, that makes you feel happy and stops you thinking about stress or work or what's going on at home just for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And at the end of it, you'll just feel so much more energized and your mind will feel clearer and you can just carry on with your day. Right, so number 7, and I think people will find this one the hardest one to do, and that's to take some proper time off. I know that I'm really, really bad at this, and I've spoken about it before when I've been, physically unwell and I haven't taken proper time off. I mean, on my wedding day, I had clients messaging me on Skype and I was responding like, that's terrible, it was my wedding day. But taking some proper time off, whether it's just a couple of days to sit at home and do nothing, or whether you want to plan a holiday, which I know is quite difficult at the moment, but just taking some time off where you do not answer emails. Your out of office goes on and that's it. You are away from work, you're away from everything that could be a distraction. And to do this without feeling guilty is really difficult. I completely empathize with anyone who thinks I can't really take the time off. I need to at least reply to these emails. But there's a good chance that the people that are emailing you will respect you really for taking that time off, and they might even be a little bit jealous that you're spending that time on yourself. And I know it's much harder when you're self-employed. Both my husband and I are self-employed, so we do really struggle with this. And Jake, if you're listening, please stop answering your phone to clients on holiday. And I'll promise I'll do the same. But to have some quality uninterrupted time off is worth its weight in gold. And to get rid of the guilt, all you have to think is that when you come back, whether you just come back from your couple of days at home or you come back from a week-long holiday, you will be so much more refreshed, you will be so much more productive and less stressed that you'll probably get more done than if you just worked through that week anyway, because you need that time for yourself. So number 8 is something that I could talk about for absolutely hours. I'm not going to today, don't worry. I will do a whole dedicated episode or 2 on this. But it's about setting goals. And there's a couple of points that I want to touch on in this. And that's firstly, what are your goals? Is your goal to work 50, 60, 70 hours and be stressed? Probably not. Or is your goal to spend more time with your friends and your family? In which case, working all those hours is probably affecting that goal and stopping you from achieving that goal. Or is it something else entirely? And I'd really like you to think about what your goal is in life. What is it you want to achieve? And we're talking big goals here. Mine is to write a best-selling book, but also to be able to have more time to myself. I want to be able to spend more time with my husband and with my friends and my siblings. So I know that with that goal in the back of my mind, I don't try and put too much on my plate. So have a think about what your goals are in life. And another thing that I want you to think about is how you can turn those goals into much smaller little things on your to-do list. So what I like to do is take a look at a big goal that I have, and I think about all of the different steps that I need to do and break it down so that I've got all of these mini goals that all contribute towards the bigger goal. So like I said, I will be doing a whole episode on this, so I won't go into too much detail, but if you think about your big goals and what you want to achieve, and also how to turn those into smaller mini goals that are far more manageable, that don't make you feel overwhelmed and stressed, then that's a good starting point. And in the future, we'll go through goal setting and whether it helps or hinders, because sometimes actually setting goals can be bad for us if we're setting goals that aren't really in line with our why or what we want to do. And sometimes setting goals can just put too much pressure on ourselves. So that's a whole episode for another time. But for now, think about those goals and think about turning them into much smaller chunks that don't feel overwhelming every day. Okay, so number 9 is to practice saying no. No, I can't come to that. No, I can't do that. No, I don't have the time for that. And just practice saying no in your daily life, especially when it comes to work. If you are a yes person and everyone knows that they can just hand all their work over to you because you'll get it done, don't be afraid to say no. No, thank you. I'm very busy. I have enough on my plate. Please hand it to Sandra. Or if you have a really busy schedule and someone invites you to something, no, thank you. I'm really sorry. I have lots going on. I won't be able to make that. And don't feel guilty for saying no. I know that we can often beat ourselves up because we want to please everyone all of the time. We can sacrifice our own well-being for that. But what ends up happening is that we say yes to everything, and then there are things that we have to cancel. The day before someone's birthday party, I'm really sorry, I'm so tired, I can't come. And then we feel guilty. But if we get into a habit of scheduling better and learning to say no to things and knowing our limits, you can't work 60 hours, socialize for 10, and then hope that you'll feel okay at the end of the week. So if we just understand our limits and know that, well, actually, I do need to take some time for myself. I promised Bex that I would schedule some downtime. Just blame me. That's fine. Say Bex made you do it. Bex made you say no. But learning to manage our time and to say no is really, really important. And it gets rid of that sense of guilt, when you do have too much on your plate and you have to cancel something. Number 10, being mindful. Now, as I've said before, mindfulness is something that I've really just started learning and practicing. And I was very worried that it meant that I was going to have to dedicate a lot of my day to, sitting in a dark room and meditating or whatever else. But actually, most of the techniques that I've learned, I've started to incorporate into my day just out of habit. And I don't need any time off. I don't need to schedule this in my downtime. It's something that I'm doing almost constantly out of habit now. Being mindful really just means checking in with yourself and listening to how you feel and how your body feels. So a couple of places and times that I like to be mindful are when I'm brushing my teeth, when I'm making a cup of tea or coffee, even when I'm just filling the dishwasher or hoovering. It's in these times where our mind can wander and we start to think about all of the things that are stressing us out or making us feel burnt out. And instead, using this time to focus and listen to your inner monologue that's kind of saying, whoa, I'm feeling a bit stressed. Okay, right, let's listen to what my mind has to say without really focusing too much on trying to change it, just listening. And it's during these times that you'll get a really good feel for what it is that's going on in your mind, what your emotions are doing and how you're feeling in general. And then recognizing that maybe you do need to take a step back. Maybe you need to schedule in some of that downtime or have a little break. So just understanding really what's going on. And mindfulness is something that's very new for me as well. So I'm learning, and I've got some guests coming on that are going to talk about it in more detail. But for now, just when you're brushing your teeth or washing your face, just check in with your mind and just listen to it really. Okay, so number 11, we're nearly there. Talking to someone. I know that this can be hard for some people. Not everyone is open for communicating and letting other people know their feelings. However, when we're stressed, our minds can feel like they're really tangled up and there's so much going on that sometimes it's just really nice to be able to let that stress out without getting snappy at someone and just saying, this is how I feel. And that was part of the reason that I set up the Anti-Burnout Club Facebook group. So we launched that on Monday, the 10th, and we've got a nice little group. It's a private group full of people who are from all over the world, have different backgrounds, different careers. Some are self-employed, some work in really high-pressure jobs, some have a big family or a new baby. And so we're all very, very different, but we're all experiencing or have experienced burnout and stress in some way. And just being able to tell our stories and to vent when we're feeling stressed out has been already, I think, really helpful. So if you don't particularly want to talk to a friend or a family member about your stress, then you are more than welcome to come and join the Facebook group. As I said, it's private, so none of your Facebook friends can see what you've written in there. And it's just somewhere to get support, really, and talk to someone else. But if you do have people that you can talk to, if you do feel like your husband or your wife is really understanding, then talk to them and let them know that you're feeling stressed and why you're feeling stressed. It can really do wonders just untangling the mind and getting it all out. And that leads to the final point, number 12, which is to talk to yourself. And this ties in with the mindfulness, but in a slightly different way. I'm talking about journaling here, or writing a diary. I'm a big fan of writing in journals. I'm normally really bad, and I start in January, and then, I'll get really, really good, and I'll plan all my days and I'll write all my gratitudes. And then by February, I've kind of forgotten about it. So I started one actually in July because I thought, oh, maybe it's just the January thing, new year, new me. I'm just going to start one at the end of July. So it was a bit like, this isn't the first or a Monday or whenever people normally start new things. It's just on a Thursday in July, I decided to start a new journal. And in that, I write 3 things that I'm grateful for, ways that I've looked after myself or loved myself that day, ways that I have loved other people and kind things that I've done for other people. And it's a really great in-depth journal, the one that I get, and I'll pop a link in the blog post that I'll put on beckspiller.com. Not an affiliate link, it's just a journal that I really, really do enjoy. So you can find any kind of diary or journal that works for you. I do really like the happiness planners. I've used those before. Some people like to bullet journal. But just talking to yourself through pen and paper at the end of every day. I actually do 5 minutes in the morning with my morning coffee, and then about 10 minutes in the evening just going through everything that I did that day and kind of planning for the day ahead. And again, that's just taking some time for yourself to untangle everything that's in your mind, everything that you might be thinking about or that you're stressed about, but also appreciating all of the things that did go well that day. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that every day I do an Instagram story for gratitude, where I ask people to let me know what they're grateful for today. And we also do that in the Facebook group with 3 things that we're grateful for that day. Because we can get so focused on the negative, sometimes talking to ourselves or writing out what we're grateful for can actually show us that that day wasn't as bad as we thought it might have been. And we do have things that we are grateful for and that we're happy about. So that's it. They are my 12 tips and tricks to stop burnout in its tracks. And there's a lot here to take in, I fully appreciate. And I'm not expecting you all to start doing all 12 of these things straight away, and all of a sudden you don't feel stress anymore, you don't feel anxious anymore, you're just a calm and relaxed human being. As we know, life doesn't really work that way. But just picking maybe 1 or 2 of these things to start with and go, okay, well, I'm going to schedule some downtime, and in that downtime I'm going to dance, or I'm going to start journaling and practice 3 things that I'm grateful for every day. And I'm also going to talk to someone else about those 3 things that I'm grateful for every day. And once those 1 or 2 things become more of a habit, then you can look at adding more and more of them until, you are doing all 12 or at least a good portion of them. And the more we practice them every day, the easier they will be to do when we do feel extremely overwhelmed or we do feel really, really stressed. We'll know that we have this kind of toolbox of things that we can fall back on and go, okay, well, I know I need to take some time. I need to say no to that project at work and take some time for me. So I hope this has been really helpful for you today. And as usual, I will put a blog post on beckspiller.com. If you go to the Anti-Burnout Club, you'll see it there. And I'll just list these 12 things briefly so that when you do need something to refer back to, you don't have to listen to an entire episode of me rambling on again. You can just refer back to that and go, okay, I'm going to try this technique next. And in the next episode, I'm going to be talking about comparisons. This will be focused on comparing ourselves to others, how this can be good for us and how it can be bad for us, and how we can use comparisons to benchmark our lives in a slightly better way than, scrolling through Instagram and thinking, oh, I wish my life was as good as hers or his. And hopefully there'll be some really interesting things that we cover and some really helpful techniques that will kind of stop us comparing ourselves to others in such a harsh way and to see ourselves for the successes that we are. So that will be coming next week. And in the meantime, if you want to follow on social media or sign up to the newsletter or join the Facebook group, I'll leave all the details in the blog post. And I'll speak to you all again very soon. Take care. Thank you so much for listening to my podcast, The Anti-Burnout Club. Please don't forget to subscribe and we'll talk again very soon.